Hello everyone, welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports. And in case you missed it, some very interesting news. Owen Farrell will miss the upcoming Six Nations and will be taking a break from international rugby to focus on his mental health. In the latest episode of players being willing to take a bit of a step back away from the pressures of professional sport and to prioritize their mental well-being and to recognize the stresses that an international sport and professional sport do take on a person. And it's a very positive move. And again, a bit of a reminder of just how human these players and these athletes are. So before we get into exactly what the club statement had to say and what probably potentially caused this for Owen Farrell, as to why this is so important to look at, please do smash the like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. In terms of what is happened, Saracens have put out a statement, and they have confirmed that Owen Farrell will not be taking part in the upcoming Six Nations and will be taking a break from international rugby. The statement, I'm just trying to find it, just get it in full here. Basically talks about following. It all stems from the abuse, doesn't it? At the end of the day, it all stems from the sort of social media abuse, the literal physical, verbal abuse that he's received, and the pressure that he's been on over the last few months. And as a result, he has decided to take a step back. And Steve Waterwick is behind it as well. In fact, he came out and said the following. He said, since making his debut, he has been an integral part of the England setup for over a decade, and the demands on elite athletes are extremely challenging. He is an exemplary player, captain and leader, and always gives it all for his country. He said, "It's with typical courage that Owen has made this decision to open up in this manner. Together with all of us at England Rugby, I will do everything I can to ensure that he has the full support going forward." And I think that's, again, you can't not get behind him in a situation like this, because he's got every right reason to do it. So in terms of what the full sort of club statement had to say, this was released by Saracens, and it's a pretty short statement. It says as follows. It says, Owen Farrell has decided to take a break from international rugby in order to prioritize his and his family's mental well-being. This means he will not be available for selection for the 2024 Six Nations. He will continue to play for Saracens and captain the club. As always, Owen, you'll have full support of everyone at the club. And I think this is a good pertinent time to take a step back and realize the human element that we often forget. And to be fair, I think as South African fans, probably do need to put our hands up. And I know he's not the most popular person within the South African public, and he has earned that reputation, sometimes fairly, sometimes it's been a bit over-exaggerated over the years. And there's a lot of reasons that a lot of incidents would upset South African fans. However, that never justifies the abuse. And we are now seeing the reality of what all this sort of abuse can lead to. And I think that it's not necessarily, as simplistic as saying that it's just the social media abuse, for example. You watch videos of him being booed by the England crowd, for example, after games, when he's going up to family and stand stuff like that, being booed, and people hurling abuse and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, whether you like him or not, he's a player who's always gone out and try to do what's best for his country. He's always conducts himself very well off the field, for example. He has always been the ultimate professional, really. But it's taken its toll. And if you look at the last couple of years from an England point of view, Eddie Jones, the whole Eddie Jones cycle, the ups and downs that's come with Steve Borthwick, the various challenges that he's faced. I think it has been a very challenging couple of years for him. And there's no doubt how taxing it has been. And what I think is also so important about this statement is to prioritize his and his family's mental well-being. Because this is the thing, we've seen in the last couple of months referees being sent death threats regarding family members being threatened, and it's time for this to come to an end. And I think that this needs to become normalized. This idea of taking breaks, and it's getting there. There are certain players who are taking non-paying sabbaticals, for example. I mentioned this yesterday in my New Zealand video. And we need to normalize the fact that these professional athletes are only human at the end of the day, and sometimes they do need to take breaks. They do need to take a step back, get themselves right, and then keep going. Otherwise, we're going to have athletes who are going to break down and not be able to cope with the pressures. That could lead to early retirements. It could lead to athletes not fulfilling their potential. And we all love the sport. We want to see the best the sport can be. And for that, we need to be our athletes. You see our athletes being the best they can be. And I think mental health is, is obviously such an important focus and a long overdue focus when it comes to the pressures of international sport. And this is just the next sort of reminder, really, of the fact that we are progressing into a really healthy, hopefully, environment where players don't feel that they can't put their hands up and say, listen, right now, I'm not ready to play. We've seen lots of different players do it in the cricketing world, in the footballing world, in the rugby world now. And I think a lot of these players, it's been for the better. So, yeah, as I said, regardless of what you think about Owen Farrell, it's not nice that he's gone to the situation where he feels he needs to take the step away. And I think, if you are one of those people who have gone and commented and sent DMs and abused him a lot over the last few years on social media and stuff like that, maybe time to take a look in the mirror and realize that actions do actually have consequences, and you're not just hurling abuse at a phone. There's somebody on the other end of that phone, and there are some real emotions that person's going to go through as a result of the abuse that you throw. And at the end of the day, if what I say does resonate with you, then maybe you are part of the problem. But I'm not saying everybody that's ever criticized him is part of the problem. You're allowed to criticize people. There's no you're never in a situation where you can't criticize athletes and stuff. It kind of comes with the territory. But there's a fine line between criticism and abuse, and I do think it's become blurred. And I think abuse is on the rise, criticism is on the what's deemed criticism is a lot of the times just abuse. And I think we need to always be very careful when we do criticize or when we do vent our emotions, that we do it within reason, and there's always a line, and never cross that line. But yeah, what do you think about the whole scenario? Down in the comments below, let me know. Please do smash like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Thanks very much for watching. My name is Steve. I'll chat to you soon.